Koluka solo wa Otito. Pateki Umbundu. And today's topic, Japheth in the wide area of his inheritance. Okay. Japheth and the wide area of his inheritance. That's what we're going to talk about today. His sons, the lands that they inherited. All right. Japheth is the elder of the three sons of Noah, Ham, Shem, and Japheth. As it says here in Genesis 21, the brother of Japheth, the elder. So Japheth is the older brother. Okay, I used the Strong Concordance to pull up the letters that you're looking at. So that's where these Hebrew characters come from, right here. They come from the Strong Concordance when you look up Japheth. This is the root number H6601. And I forgot the root number for the first one. But anyhow, these are the Hebrew characters that was used to render the name Japheth. However, I have a different interpretation of the names. And so this different interpretation came by way of some writings that was put forth by Judah, a brother from the tribe of Judah in earlier times, and he was recording the Northern Kingdom's translations of certain words. Okay, so I used that to as my graph or whatever, my chart for the new letters. Okay, and I didn't get all of them, but I got enough to change some of the names. Okay. So that's what I did. I plugged it in to see what I got. And I got definitely different names. So this is what you see here. The translation for the name Japheth I have as Tepel. Okay. Tepel. All right. T-E-P is the vowel, E and L. All right. And the root word they have as patah. But as the root word, I have palas or palin. This character right here hasn't been clear to me what it is, either an S or an N. I know most people translate that as an H, but I'm not really clear concretely, but from the pattern, it looks like it's an S. So for the sake of this understanding, that's what I've been using between the two, S and N. All right. So for Japheth, I got Tepel and the root palace. Tepel and palace. That's right. Okay, and his names mean to expansion. All right, that's what Tepel means, or Japheth in the English. All right, and Tepel is a surname, often refers to. I got this little note down here, often refers to a surname with Eastern European or Slavic roots, sometimes associated with a little hill or a cook slash pot. Okay, now there's some different variations of the name that you will be able to find, okay, because of the vowels, sometimes they change vowels, but they still use the same letters, but the vowels change, okay? So some other translations that's possible with these same letters is tepful or topo or tofo. Okay, because some people translate that P as a PH. Okay, and that PH also could be translated as a G, possibly. Okay, so some other variations: tepel, topel, tafel, and then for the root word pala or palin or palas, there has some other possible interpretation as falah, falan, or falah, or falas, or palas. I already got palas. Okay. Or but falan, palan, or falah. And also, like I said, they use G sometimes for the P. So you got gall, gala. Okay. It's kind of like where the Gauls come from. All right. Quick fact, there was a car maker by the name of Opel, big car maker in Germany. Okay. So that name is indicative that he comes from the line of Tepel, which is Japheth in the English, of course. All right. So here's a little note about that. Topel surname is primarily of German, Jewish, in parentheses, Polish, and Slavic origin. Okay. Originated as a habitational name from places like Topeln, Topeln, Topel, or as a nickname for a warm person. Okay. It is a relatively rare surname with 1,002 individuals in the U.S. Okay. It says some details about the Topol surname. It's German, Slavic, and Jewish, in parentheses, Polish, because they are pretty much the same people. Polish, Polish, which comes from the line of Japheth. You can tell by the name Polish. It's got that P and that L. Pol, pal, pill, pill, pal, pole. It's all the same thing. It's all Japheth's original name. Okay. So there's a little note on that. You can actually pull that up on Google and just see these little tidbit facts about the name. Okay. Now it's not going to tell you, oh, that's Japheth's name. You know what I'm saying? Because, it's not going to put that like that. You know what I'm saying? I had to pull, like I said, these letters from a very rare source. So it's not going to say that. But, it does indicate that these are names that have been used of ancient times. So you would definitely find that these are old names and not new names. Okay. All right. So it's just another example of palace used in real time. It has multiple distinct origins, often acting as a variant for palace or pala, with Greek roots derived from Albanian for sword, and Czech as a derivative of Paul, and as a nickname for Moravian dialect. Okay, it is most frequently found in Turkey, Algeria, India, and Saudi Arabia. This is all Japheth territory, or temple, palace. This is territory. Okay, and we're going to see that once we start going through the actual text of Jubilees 8 and 9, Jubilees chapter 8 and 9, because we're going to use that as our map to find all the places of Japheth. Okay, I started this already, so I already did like a general one on this subject that just covered the whole land. Now I'm doing individuals, sons, okay, and I'm gonna do that for each of the sons of Noah. So I'm going their territory and divide up the land by the sons as it is described in Jubilees 8 and 9. Okay, because you're not going to get that in the KJV. This is pretty descriptive. Jubilees is an old book, very, very old book, ancient text that's been preserved. So, most of the books that were in Africa were burned. The libraries in Africa was burned. And so, it was hard to decipher where these places was talking about, but I found some reference materials that help lead the way to find these places that's being referenced in Jubilees 8 and 9. All right. All right. So let's start over here in Jubilees 8 and 9. I'm using the Robert. I'm using the I can't think of his name right now. The translator's name of this version of Jubilees. I can't think of it right now. It's in one of my other videos though. Yeah, I can't think of it right now. Robert H. something. Right, I just can't think of it right now. All right, Jubilees 8 and 25. It says, and for Japheth came forth the third portion beyond the river Tina to the north of the outflow of its waters. Okay. So for Japheth came forth the third portion beyond the river Tina to the north of the outflow of its waters. Okay. The river Tina, that is a very significant point in order to know where Japheth land is beginning to be described. Okay, it was also necessary to see where Shem's land began. Okay, this river Tina. All right, and for a while this was like a mystery. Where is this river Tina? Okay, but I was able to find some reference material, and this is what we're going to use as our starting point to trace out Japheth land and where the sons were in Japheth's territory. Okay. So starting at Jubilees chapter 9 in verse 10. All right. No. I'm sorry. Chapter 9, verse 7. Yeah. I copied and pasted these texts so I can have it all in one place instead of jumping around all over the computer. All right. And Japheth also divided the land of his inheritance among his sons. And the first portion came forth for Gomer to the east from the north side to the river Tina. Okay. So that's the first point that we must find. Gomer, the first portion, okay, to the east from the north side to the river Tina. To the east from the north side. Okay. Also, what did it say here? It says, for Japheth came forth the third portion beyond the river Tina to the north of the outflow of his waters. All right. Okay. So these are some points that we're going to need to have. So this is the river Tina right here. We need to get that understanding clear. Japheth land began at the north of the outflow of his waters. All right. This is the river Tina right here. It is the ancient Pelusiac River, you know what I'm saying, of the Nile Delta. Okay. And here is some reference material to prove that. I'm going to show the source at the bottom. Okay, and it says Sunuda has a branch called the River of Tinas, meant for Tina or Tina, the modern name of Pelusium, which appears to answer to the Tiryat Moose and to the ancient Pelusiac branch in the lower part of its course. It indeed terminates in the lake of Menzala in the quarter of Pelusium, but this place is known to have been surrounded by lakes and marshes. Okay. The latitude of Tina, the ancient Pelusium, being given at 30 degrees 48 latitude, and that of Farama. At the mouth of that branch of the Nile, 30 degrees and 50 latitude. Consequently, the difference of latitude between Suez and Pelusium is 46 minutes, and between the approximating parts of the seas, 48. All right, so basically we wanted to know where the river Tina was, okay, and we got it. The river Tina is the ancient Pelusium of the Nile Delta. It is right here. I drew it out on a map, but let's see how they drew it out, okay? Now this has been referenced from Herodotus, who's a Greek historian from 500 BC. So this writer right here is detailing what Herodotus wrote. Okay, so this is ancient material, ancient understandings. So it's not like a modern interpretation of where the river Tina is. This is ancient material. The name of this book, matter of fact, is I'm going to list a geography of Herodotus. You'll see the listing below. All right, so this is how they drew up the Pelusium, Pelusiac, the Pelusium. Okay, let's zoom in a little bit. Zoom in a little bit and see this. All right, so this is the ancient Pelusiac right here. All right, you can see that? Ancient Pelusiac. ancient Pelusiac branch. Okay. I got this from the same book that I referenced the text from. All right. And it's right, as you can see, it's on the Nile Delta. It's one of the old branches of the Nile Delta. Okay. Some very interesting stuff on this map. Also, which is going to help showcase some other things about this area, specifically that, Africa, the continent of Africa, is Shem's land. Okay. I'm gonna go into more detail about his sons in another video, the next video. All right. So we can see here the ancient Pelusiac rhythm. So Japheth land starts at the north of the outflow of this river. That's what the text says. All right. I'm gonna close that out. All right. Starts at the north of the outflow of this river. Okay. So we can see where that's at. All right. And then the text also says that the first portion goes to Gomer. All right. The first portion goes to Gomer, to the north and to the east. Okay. From the river Tina. All right. North into the east. East into the north. Right. To the river Tina. All of that is Gomer's territory. All going towards the east, and a little bit north is all Gomer's son. Okay. So even this area, current Middle East in Saudi Arabia and all of that, is Gomer's territory. Okay. Now I usually translate my R's as a T because that's how the ancients had left that. So I would have Gomet. Okay. I translate sometime as Gomen because I've seen it like that. But Gomet would be how I would translate Gomer's name. Okay. And as you can see to the east of the Pelusiac is Gomer's territory. You know what I'm saying? It can't be ancient Israel territory, given that the fact that the ancient Pelusiac starts, somewhere around Sinai and the Gaza. You know what I'm saying? And Japheth's territory start at the outflow of that river to the east and to the north. Hey, I didn't write this. This is ancient material, so don't get mad at me. All right, I just found the river Tina. I think most people did not look for it, or they couldn't find it, but I was able to find it. All right, so here we go. Let's see. These are the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Japheth, and Tergamah. Okay. So I translate Ashkenaz as Kazekanach. And Japheth I translate as Tidpal. And Tergamah I translate as Logatimus. Okay, or Leganimus, one of those. All right. Now the area we was just looking at, it says that in ancient times this was called the area of Lian. Lian, okay, or in the Greek, Lichino, also called Dedan or Dadan or whatever. It's the ancient Arab kingdom that played a vital cultural and economic role in the northwestern region of the Arabian Peninsula. Okay. Also, I found material that it used to be called Yemen. It used to be called Yemen. Yaman. I should have included that piece too. I didn't think of it, but yeah, it used to be called Yemen, the Arabia Felix area. Okay, so this area right here. All right, so we can see Japheth's territory starts and it goes this way, up this way, and it goes all the way this way. This is Gomer's territory right here. Boom. Okay. And we're going to see some of the names on the map, as you can see right now. Kazakhstan. That's one we're going to see on the map. Turkmenistan, Nepal. We're going to see that. And it's just going to show that, yeah, this is truly Gomer's area right here going towards the east. You know what I'm saying? All this area, all of this. All right. So I'm just showing the translation of the names because that helps us to find these places. I know my translation may look a little curious because it's different, but I have my sources. Okay. And, I'm going to show my sources sooner or later, but right now I just want to do the presentation. I want to do the language on its own. You know what I'm saying? But I definitely want to showcase these translations so we can see that, yeah, you can find them if you have, some of the right letters. Okay. So as you can see, I translated Ashkenaz as Kazekenak. Okay. And if we look at the map, we got Kazakhstan on the map. And I'm going to show you something about that Stan and Eastan. That's just an addition that they put on the name, sort of like they would do some ancient British towns. You'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. Okay. I also translated Ashkenaz as Skint using S, the C, the N, and then the T. Okay, Scythians. They just didn't put none of the vowels in there for whatever reason, but I can tell that's where it came from. All right. Sometimes the names can be, shortened and made to look sort of different, but it's actually the same name. Different tribes breaking off and forming their own little version of the original name. And that's basically what we're saying. Okay. It's like you can get check out of this, right? Because this S I translate as a Z. So it would be like C Z E and then the K, because this C produces a K sound. That's Czech right there. And what do you got? Czechoslovakia. That's another son of Ashkenaz, right? So we can find, that's another brother of Ashkenaz. So we can find the sons of Gomer on the map, you know what I'm saying? Especially Ashkenaz, okay? With the proper translation. All right. So now looking at repath, what they have repath in the English, I have as titpal. Okay, but I also included dpal and nepal, just for the sake of the variations in other people's languages. That's how they sometimes use it. And we do see Nepal on the map. Dpal is a very popular name. Is also one of the Hindu goddesses or whatever in India. Okay. So that's what I got out of that. And then we got over here the Andaman Sea. And I have an animus from Torgamah, animus. So you got Andaman. I got animus. And remember I told you this character right here, I translate as an S and an N because I seen it used both ways, but I don't have an official translation for it. But I'm just saying a pattern. Sometimes I use patterns, but when I actually got the actual letter, I would use the actual letter. But for this one, I haven't found one. Okay. Matter of fact, they said it was no known pronunciation for this particular letter. That's what was written about it. Okay. All right. All right. Also, you see, let me see. Okay. So that's what we got there. So we see repath. We see a little bit of Tergamon over there. We see the Ashkenaz over here. And I'm thinking this Yemen and Oman is a variation of Tergamah, or as I translated, Loganamas or Loganamen. So Yemen, Nimen, or Timan. I think it's a variation of Tergamah in his real translation. And you, because we all know that the Ottomans were in that area, right? So if you look at that, I got Atumas. It could be that, like I said, that letter right there could be an N. So that would be Ottomans. And we know the Ottomans was in that area. So this could be the Ottomans area, but we know for sure it is one of the sons of Gomer. All right, because that's where his land started at. All right, just quick fact, like I was trying to explain. I pulled this from a dictionary, Persian, Arabic, and English. That's the name of it. Dictionary, Persian, Arabic, and English, written in 1887. Okay, and this is like an introduction, a dissertation they was writing before they give all the definitions out of the Arabic words. And it was just saying, okay, stand or istan, the adjunct, is like our shire, sometimes added, sometimes dropped. Fars or Faristan, Suri or Suristan, being indifferently used, as we say, Wilts or Wiltshire. Okay. So basically the istan and the stand is an addition to the words. It has a meaning. It is proposition that it meant, I mean, he's proposition, the writer here, that it is a derivative of Ishtar. But he doesn't know for sure. Okay. So we don't know exactly what that means. But he was saying that it was sort of like a praise word, you know what I'm saying? Like praise or you know what I'm saying? Or something like that. That's what he was, suggesting that the name came from. Okay. So istan or stan is like an adjunct, an additive that they add on to the names. So when we look at like how I translated Ashkenaz and Kazakhstan. If we added the Istan or Stan on it, what we got? Kazakhstan, right? Kazakhstan. Like it made it drop the AT, but everything else is there. Okay. And then look at the repal. If you add the Istan on there, it become Palestine. You know what I'm saying? Palestine. It's the Istan. The Stan is added on to there. And if we look at Turgamar, if we was to add the Istan on there, it could be Turkmenistan. You know what I'm saying? If this was the end, Turkmenistan, you got a Turkmenistan over there. So I'm just saying, like, the names are there, the translation is there. You know what I'm saying? In some cases, maybe not perfectly, but we can see the sons of Gomer on the map. Okay, we can definitely see them. All right. So they took all the way east. Okay, all the way from the River Tina and north, a little bit north, all the way to the east. Okay, sons of Gomer. All right. And I just had a little question mark, like who was this son that had this part? But like I said, I think it was Turgamar, but I could be wrong. It could have been Refal, because his name is Titpal. If you add the Istan on it, then you got Palestine. Palestine. You know what I'm saying? So could have been either one. All right, this is the only area really in question, like whose son, like which one of Gomer's son had this area. Outside of past that, we already know, Ashkenaz, Repath, or whatever. But we know for sure it's not Shem's land. Okay, not from the ancient times. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know they moved stuff around and change understandings, you know what I'm saying? But in ancient times, this was not Shem's land. And if it wasn't Shem's land in ancient time, it ain't his land now. You know what I'm saying? But so, I mean, I can't say why names were moved around. I think that has something to do with the map makers, probably. But I'm guessing. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Because all you gotta do is change something on the map, and I've seen that in my lifetime. Even recently, in the last 2 years, I've seen a couple of changes on the map that wasn't there, like straight up. You know what I mean? Rivers moved, and the name moved from here to there, and it's like, oh wow. So that's all. If that's all it took, and then people fell in line with that, easily the understanding can, be misconstrued or misunderstood. All right, so that was just a little bit more about whose area that was, who was noted to be in that area at one point, the Saudi Arabia area. Okay. All right. So the next one we come to is Gog. All right. Jubilees chapter 9 to 7. And Japheth also divided the land of his inheritance amongst his son, and the first portion came forth for Gomer to the east from the north side to the river Tina. Okay. From the north side to the river Tina. That means all the way from the ocean to the river Tina. From the east. That's Gomer's. Okay. And in the north, there came forth for Magog all the inner portions of the north until it reaches to the sea Miat. Right? So God comes to the sea Miat. Right? And then it also says next to him, next to his two brothers is Madai. Okay? As it says right here, and for Madai came forth as his portion that he should possess from the west of his two brothers to the islands and to the coast of the islands. So beyond a certain point, there is only two people or two sons. That would be Gog and Gomer to the west of Madai. All right. Let's see what that might look like. So drawing out basically how it's been explained. Okay. Since we know where the river Tina is, we know where to place Gomer. All right. And from all the way from the east, the north, somewhere north and east, all the way to the river Tina is Gomer's territory. Okay, that's what the script say, not me. All right. And then it says from the north to the inner north to the sea Miat is Magog. Right? So this is what this looks like right here. Magog got all of this where I got God got. It should have been Magog. I was half sleep when I done this. I was trying to get it together. But Magog, okay? Magog got all of this all the way up to the sea Miat. We know the sea Miat is right here. If you followed my other videos, you would know that the sea Miat is the Mediterranean Sea. So Magog comes all the way to the Mediterranean Sea. Okay? And then you got Madai, right? Next to Magog and Gomer. As it says, to the west of Madai is his two brothers, Gog and Gomer. Nobody else. Not Javan, not Tubal, not, you know what I'm saying? So nobody else on this side except for Gog and Gomer. All right. So this is what Madai got all the way to the coast. All right. All right. Now let's do Javan. Okay, chapter 9, verses 7. And for Javan came forth the fourth portion, every island and the islands which are towards the border of Lud. Okay. And for Tubal there came forth a fifth portion in the midst of the tongue which approaches toward the border of the portion of Lud. Okay. So Javan got every island and the islands which are towards the border of Lud. Okay, and these are the sons of Javan: Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. I have the names translated as Teman or Thomas or Tamar or Tartin. I meant Tartin, not Tartar. Tartin. It possibly could be Tartar because that last letter I didn't get no confirmation of what it was. Elisha I have as Saritsus, and Tarshish I have as Letisis or Lenissus, and Kittim I have as Kalit or Kaliti or Kalituit or Ilium. Okay, and Donanim I have as Rodinit, Sosanit, and what was the other one? We're going to see it in a minute. Right? These are the sons of Javan. They had all the islands up to the border of Lud. And Okay, we need to establish where Lud is. Lud is right here. I'm going to go into more detail about Shem's land, about that in a minute, but Lud is right here. Okay, so it says Tubal and Javan pushes up to his land. All right. All right, so I found this map where it shows some of the places here. I also wanted to show the quick translation that I got. Taman, this is Javan's name, Taman. And Tatin, I'm sorry, Tatin or Tatir. Okay, Tatin. This is the original name, and this is the root. I always look at the root. If there is a root, I'm going to translate it too, because sometimes the root, you are able to find the root and not the actual name. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why that is. But yeah, that's the case sometimes. So Alicia, I have as Saritsis. Okay. And you can see we got Critter. They just took out the vowels. Okay. And just got Critter. All right. And for Kittim, and the Kittim is not shown on this map. All right. You see a roads up there. Okay. Peloponnesus. I kept that because it said Nisus right there for Tarshish. But I can't say I'm certain that's Tarshish. I'm just saying the familiarity of the names. I do believe that's 100% Creta right there. You know what I'm saying? No doubt. All right, here's another look at it. Okay. So for Kittim, which is, we got Kilit or Kiliti, you can easily tell that's where Italy got its name. Also, Sicily got its name from Kittim. And Ilium used to be over here. Ilium was over in this area right here. So Kittim actually spread out a little bit. He went over to Italy. He got the Sicily area right here. Then he had Ilium, ancient Ilium. That's where Troy started at. Okay. And Troy was going around everywhere, like, kicking down doors. You know what I mean? Stomping folks out and all that. All right. So over here, like I said, either Dodanim or Tarshish. I didn't know. I couldn't 100% say that was Tarshish right there. I could have got Spain out of Tarshish and Dendinum in one way or the other. You know what I'm saying? What I found. So that was very difficult translation right there. And that comes from what I translate as the L. Some people from patterns I could see translate that what I consider L based on other ancient material. Modernly they translate as a T, but sometimes people use that as a P in their own translations. This is what I have noticed of other languages using it as a P. So yeah, I just like document those kind of patterns. Okay, and we can see that one of the sons of Javan definitely is pushing up on the land of Lud, Spain. And you got Tubal right there. You know what I'm saying? Also pushing up on Lud. Okay. But I don't have Tubal as that's his translated name. But we're going to get into that in a minute. Now, here's another note. Collectively, Javan is known as the Greeks. Okay. So Italy, the Cretes, Tarshish, Dodanim. All the sons of Javan collectively is known as the Greeks. When you look up Greek in the Strong Concordance, you get the name Javan. Okay, so that's like all of them. It's not one particular son or the other. And back in the days, that used to confuse me. You know what I'm saying? Like, actually, who is the Greeks? You know what I'm saying? So now we know the Greeks is all four of the sons of Javan collectively. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they might have been doing their own thing and stuff, so breaking off from one another. But yeah, collectively, it's the son of Javans. All right, so now we're going to move on to Tubal. Okay. And what does it say about Tubal? It says, Jubilees chapter 9 and 11. And for Tubal, there came forth the fifth portion in the midst of the tongue, which approaches towards the border of the portion of Lud. All right. Then it goes on to say, to the second tongue, to the region beyond the second tongue, unto the third tongue. All right. So this is what Tubal got. Right. And I'm going to add this in here too, about Meschech, because it mentions the tongues and stuff like that. So that's important. And it says, and from Meschech came forth the sixth portion, all the region beyond the third tongue, until they purchased the east of Gadir. Okay. So what is the tongue? A tongue is a piece of land in water. You know what I'm saying? A strip of land and water. I as far as how big the land is, it doesn't say. It just says a strip of land. The definition of tongue is a strip of land in water. That's something I learned. I showcased in my first video that I did in the Jubilees series, trying to understand what it meant by the word tongue. Okay. So tongue is a strip of land in the water. So now that gives us some clues on how to follow where Tubal lands with. Okay. And this is where a lot of people get lost at when trying to follow territories. You know what I'm saying? So basically it goes like this. So we see where the first part of Tubal's land is, right? He's sharing this island space with one of the sons of Javan. Okay. That's his first portion. Okay. I have translated for Tubal as Lumen or Lumar, Luban, or Lombard. These are like some of the several ways that the name can be rendered. But from a strict rendering, I would use Lumen or Luban. And the reason why I use M instead of the B is that I read some ancient text where it says that the M has been changed to a B by the Arabs. Okay, so I use both of them. You know what I'm saying? But that bit of information, kind of helped me delegate that. Okay. Otherwise, this could have been a couple other letters based on what I have for reference material, how it was being translated. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to show that one day, because it can be pretty challenging. You know what I'm saying? In some ways. All right. So this is what we got right here. Tubal, Lumen. Tubal got these lands that went across the tongues. Okay. It says the second tongue, which I believe is Greenland. Okay. And then it goes over to the third tongue, which is the United States. Okay. Because the tongue is a piece of land in the waters. Okay. So we got Tubal getting the east coast of America. And the reason why I included Meschech, because it says past the third tongue is Meschech. Okay. So, you know, the Mississippi divides half of America. Okay. The Mississippi River goes all the way up the middle. You know what I'm saying? Divides America. So past that tongue, which is the third tongue, which is the East Coast, Meschech got that. All right. And who was Meschech? We'll talk about that in a second. Okay. But just some fun facts. The Catawba Indian tribe is a federally recognized Siouan speaking Native American nation in South Carolina, with the history spanning over 6,000 years in the Piedmont region. Okay. 6,000. So that's about right. You know, that's about the time when, you know, after the flood, because the flood happened in about the eighth or ninth generation. Okay. They get off the ship. You know, they had about 3 generations. You know what I mean? Noah had like grandsons. Okay. Then Noah passed away. And then that's when they began to fight one another to try to become king. And then they built the Tower of Babel. And then that's when the Most High scattered everybody and put them in, you know, their inherited lands. They went to their inherited lands and divided the lands. Okay. So 6,000 years, somewhere around there. You know what I'm saying? So they always been here. They always been on this side of the globe. You know what I'm saying? You know, the Native Americans, we call them. But, you know, they got their own name. And you can see it sounds like Tubal. It says Taba, Tubal, Taba, the Catawba. But I have Lumen, and they have the Lumi tribe. You know what I'm saying? You can look them up. The Lumi tribe, they've been there around that time too. So these are the sons, excuse me, these are the sons of what they translated into English as Tubals, the Native Americans on the East Coast of America. Okay. Past that third tongue, Meschech got that. Okay. His land went all the way up to the Sea of Mauk. Then it went to the east of Gadir, which is the most challenging part of that. I say out of the whole Jubilees explanation, like what was the Gadir? That thing was so still kind of confusing to me. I have an idea of what I believe it is. In the Arabic, it means a stream. Gadir means stream or something like that. So that's kind of like almost the only way that it could be explained. That Meschech land went all the way to the Sea of Mu'uk, but it went east of Gadir. So that would seem logical that his land came this way and then went east of this river right here, or some river along the Pacific Ocean that runs into the Pacific Ocean, and it runs east of that. Okay. And then it says it goes to the west of Para, you know. So I would think maybe, I don't know, to the west of Para. So probably it went on the other side of this. I don't know, maybe was this considered? I don't know. That was a tough one right there. That little part right there. But after that, it gets easy because then it says it goes back, you know, east towards the Sea Miat. Okay. So that's the only part, you know, I wasn't quite sure where Meschech land cut off at, you know, because I know Ham's land comes up north to Gadar. Okay. So I'm thinking, you know, he got this part right here. And then Meschech got this part over here. Right. And we know that I'm finna show next that Tiras got this part right here. And his land pushed up to Ham's land. So it seems logical that Meschech got this right here, and then it went this way, cut like that, and went back to the Semi-Ot. According to the text. According to the text, that's what it's showcasing. Okay, let's read about that. Let's read about Tiras. Okay, Jubilees 9 and verse 13. And for Tiras there came forth the seventh portion for a great idleness in the midst of the sea, which reached to the portion of Ham. Okay. And that's the only explanation for Tiras. Let's read this. It says there are four major islands of the Caribbean known as the Greater Antilles: Cuba, Hispaniola, Jamaica, and Puerto Rico. I think Hispaniola is that Haiti and Dominican Republic combined. Okay. One island, basically. But okay, it says Cuba, Hispaniola, Jamaica, and Puerto Rico. The four major islands, you know what I'm saying, that Tira got. Okay. Now I translate Tira in this way. The 10. Okay. And the Tianos. The 10. And what you got? The Latinos. This is what the Latin, you know what I'm saying? Latinos. Right? That's Tiras. You got Tianos. That's Tiras. Or Tanos. That's all Tiras. All right. This is what the lands that were allocated to them. And we know this is true because this is where it was at. History dictates that. I didn't even it ain't like I'm making it up. History showed you that these people were already here. It showed you that the Mexicans was on the west coast of America when the Europeans came over here and took over this country. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how, what actually happened between them. There was some wars. They made some deals. You know what I'm saying? And they went to the Mexico area. I don't know the details of what happened, but this was anciently their territory. You know what I'm saying? That they was given from Noah. All right. And we see that the Latinos and the Tanos were in the islands, just like the scripture says. And their land pushed up to Ham, which is South America. Okay, I showed that in another video, right? Everything lined up. The only way you don't believe this is that you buy into the idea that nothing else was beyond the west coast of Africa until they came over here, which everybody should know, if you're an adult, that is a farce. And it's not true. You know what I'm saying? It's not true. And it allows misinformation about history to be propagated when it was people already here for thousands of years. This is their history. This is who they were. This is who they are. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of the movement of people and places, and people have moved around. There have been like fights and wars and a lot of dominations and evilness, you know what I'm saying? Taking over people's territory, which is terrible in the eyes of the Most High. He don't like stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? They made an oath in the beginning that if anybody went into anybody else's land and took over, they was going to be cursed. You see what I'm saying? So, I can't speak to how people move around. Maybe some of these original people are not in their original lands no more. Some of these people, populations are very low due to wars and a lot of terrible things that happened in the past. But this were their original lands. I mean, it's not to say that they all died, you know what I'm saying? But the numbers is a lot lower, you know what I'm saying? But these is the original lands of everyone as dictated by the Book of Jubilees. Noah's 3 sons and their sons. Okay? So this is what that's looking like for Tubal, Meschech, and Tiara. I said Tiara. Tiras. Okay. This is where they were at. You know what I'm saying? That's the Sea of Mu'u. All right. And underneath them in South America is the territory of Ham. And that's Japheth's whole territory right there. The wide area. Now, by landmass, these areas are like smaller than the continent of Africa. You know what I'm saying? So like individually, no, they would not hold water to the continent of Africa, but together, combined, that's a lot of land. And the fact that it stretches all the way from one ocean to the other ocean on the other side of the world. You know what I'm saying? From the Pacific all the way to the Pacific again. You know what I'm saying? So that's a lot of area. That's why it's called his name is expansive. Japheth's name, or temple, his real name, temple or palace. It means wide area. You know what I'm saying? Expansive. It really is a wide area. You know what I'm saying? I can get it why his name was means expansive. Okay. So that's what we got today. The original lands, the ancient lands of the sons of Japheth. All right. I think this is important as we look at prophecies, as we look at the original lands and as we found the original lands actually, and finding and locating the original people, the ancient people of the scriptures. All right, we done found the original lands. We're gonna get more detail about it in some future videos. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's all about truth. You know what I'm saying? Understanding the true things of the scriptures. You know what I'm saying? And removing ourselves from all false things. Right? So I'm Koluka Solo wa Otito, saying peace and grace to all those who have the peace in them to receive the truth. Peace and grace.